Richard, this is supposed to be 3 p.m. I'm supposed to leave for coffee, but maybe as usual, the state, Kumul, they always leave the Lennoners last, so that's okay. My topic is a very difficult one. The chamber decided to give me something on Lennoner participation, but I think if I speak about Lennoner participation, it'll be quite difficult because different projects are different, the challenges are different, the scale and size is different. So I thought I'd rather give MRDC perspective in terms of how Lennoner should participate. So this is how I'm going to do that. Because I'm dealing both with mining and petroleum, I decided that it's difficult. So I'll just ask myself 4 questions and I'll answer it myself. Makes it easy. So, honorable ministers, members of parliament, distinguished guests, it gives me great pleasure to come here after 3 years. Thank you, Anthony Smare, for organizing this meeting. I wanted to thank you because I can see from the last 13 or 14 meetings in these conferences, we only focus on the industry, but this time I see more government participation, and tomorrow it will be a big one, and giving more relevance to also non-mining. So thank you for putting that. Maybe you're an independent chairman, that's why I did that, so thank you. We've been talking about the 10 years of boom, so I just want to highlight my definition of that. All of us in the country remember the impact of PNG LNG in the last 4 or 5 years, from 2014 to 2009 to 2014. PNG's GDP sort of experienced double-digit growth in a row, 5 years in a row. We've never had that in a single time in our country. And this is despite the GFC in 2008, we were able to sustain that, while other economies around the world shrank in terms of their growth. Unfortunately, at that time, most of us were not ready when the first wave, I call, hit us. So we were lost, especially from the landowner side, from the national content side of things. So this second wave, I dare to say, the next 10 years from now until 2033, it's going to be the golden years for Papua New Guinea in terms of mining and petroleum. And the question is, how big is the wave? What forces are shaping it and how long it will last? Indeed, the next 10 years will be exciting. So So I'll break it down into 3 parts. The construction, when the minister and prime minister talked about sequencing of Penyang and Papua, and in between you throw in Wafui, that's almost 90 billion kina construction. If you look at that, that's a lot of money in just 8 years alone in construction. Next year, when Pogra comes in, and I throw in Octedi because you've seen the Octedi GM made a presentation. Octedi, from 2023 to 24, we're talking about tripling the revenue of Octedi for the next 10 years. So if you look at the production number every year, starting next year, 2024 onwards, those 2 mining projects, along with the others, can add up to that construction. In 2026, we expect the capex for PNG LNG to be fully amortized, and 70% of the loan will be paid. You know that in this year alone, hopefully, just on tax alone, almost roughly about 4.5 billion will be paid to IRC. That's a lot of money for one project, you know. And that is only 8 years of production on 30% equity. Now you can imagine when Peter presented the numbers yesterday, 18 billion on 30% of the revenue only. Now you imagine 8% of 100% of that revenue for the next 8 years, starting 2026. I know most of the Papua New Guineans are here, so don't go for election in 2027. That's the year to be in government. In 2027 and 28, another 2 important milestones also comes in. We expect Papua to go into production. And hopefully, we have Wafi coming in. And 2023, hopefully, we have Penyang coming in. So these are production numbers, not construction. So what does it mean? I'm coming to my second question. Some of this thing doesn't like me. The second question talks about, in order to expand and sustain those investments, why is PNG an attractive investment destination? We all know PNG is home to some of the largest mining companies in the world and the super majors of oil. Barrick, Newcrest, Harmony among the top 10 in the world. So are ExxonMobil, Total Energies, and of course Santos, who began the last, using the top 20 as was announced last year. Those addresses alone brings a lot of confidence in terms of capital investment into the country. It is no coincidence the mere presence of foreign investment in exploration that encourage exploration and development. Secondly, I think the minister has already said because of our most attractive, stable and fiscal regime in the world, everybody wants to work in a level playing field, and our ability to honor that is one of the reasons why we have this investment. And the third one, which I think is underestimated, and to me, I believe, makes PNG one of the safest investment places in the world, is to do with energy security and geopolitics. You know, the crisis in Ukraine and Russia has shown that energy and security are more important than global warming as a result of the weaponization of Russian gas and OPEC oil. These put PNG at a greater advantage and high ranking as an investment destination. So it comes back to my most important agenda question. What are the business opportunities for the next big wave? When I talk about opportunities, I don't mean the local business development that our umbrella companies do in the form of traditional catering and security contracts, ad moving. As business, we need to create our own opportunities. And one of them I see is the ownership of LNG trains. PNG is now in the top 10 LNG in the world and will only improve this ranking when Papua and Penyang come on board. Qatar has done it well in terms of ownership of the train. Australia, being the second largest exporter of LNG, hasn't done it, so I'm sure there's complaints about how the state as a whole can benefit, but we can learn from the Qatar model. We have the next couple of trains in Papua and Penyang, and consideration should be given to Kumul Petroleum's MRDC, and of course, our super funds. And the reason why I'm saying that is because it's a strategic investment, and we are assured revenue for the next 40 to 30 years. And it is another way of redistributing the wealth. We talk about forex, but it is also another way of maintaining forex without forcing on to the government. And I think it's doable in the sense that the convention of sharing project infrastructure for fee is already established first in Kutubu oil pipeline, and now Papua LNG using the LNG facility. So we can find a way around that. And that is genuine, true national content. It is a win-win in the sense that it reduces capex for both projects and improves the IIR, if you were looking at that, and in a way makes the project viable. But for Kumul, it's another effective way of commercializing all the stranded fields, whether it's Barikewa, Kimu, Stanley, all of those. By owning the trams, it keeps the super majors politics out of it, and it becomes the national asset so that we can deal with issues of commercializing it rather than fighting over how we can bring our gas for domestic market obligation and national content. The second opportunity I see is, as Santos was making the presentation yesterday, I'm sure it's all of you, last week if you were in Port Moresby, you see the war between Bank of PNG and Puma, and it's all about energy. So we almost had all the airline closed for a day. Imagine if the police hasn't intervened, it would have been something else. So refinery is a key strategic asset. Energy security, you know, if you had last year, you would have known what happened around the world. So expansion of the refinery, it used to produce about 2,000 barrels a day. Now I'm hearing that they want to build it so that it can sustain only the project area and the needs around around that area. So I think it's better that we expand it so that it can supply the highlands and also the country, because fuel is key for the country. And we can do it in the sense that we're not asking them to give, but between MRDC, PRK, all the other relevant companies who we manage are capable of doing, as we've shown in Derio. So that's a consideration that I wanted to put to the operators of the oil field, to realize that before you build it, let's talk about it. So that the excess capacity it is another way of sort of saving our forex also, addressing the government's problem. The fourth opportunity I see is LPG. It's simple in the sense that we all know that it's the simplest one to do with the rich gas that we have. It's something that when we were negotiating for Penyang, we were supposed to include it, but it's somewhere dead now, so we need to do that so that we replace the imported LPG with the gas, because, you know, in terms of environmental conservation, all these people are using gas. It's better we build it in country when we have all these opportunities of rich gas. The last one which we're already doing, I know there are a lot of it, is to do with captive power plants for large mines. Our capabilities are established between New Power and Derio, and between us, we are capable of accessing the 5% DMO that Exxon has put to us, so that, you know, we can find a win-win, and that is genuine national building, and also in terms of the DMO obligation. Now, I'm being biased to petroleum, so I'll go to mining one bit before all of you go for your coffee. On the mining side, you know, earlier in the morning, the life of Octedi has been extended to 2023, but the truth is that Octedi is a dying mine. It's just that every time we keep extending its life. So we need to shift from that. Kanatu is a very good example of what small-scale mine is capable of doing if you do it right. And going forward, I think Octedi should start investing. You know, from the presentation you've seen is that they spend 250 million a year on exploration, but how much more can you do that? So supporting all the small-scale mine and Octedi taking a bigger role, that's where I see we can harness more there, and that's something that Kumul Mineral can think about, because these are all the low-hanging fruits that can be done at a lower price than that. So to conclude, my last question is PNG ready for the next big wave of responsible investment? I think that's a question that I'll leave to all the policymakers, all of us here, that we can take back when we go back, because the big wave is coming next year. PM, I think, has summarized it very well for us and the industry when he said that when we progress, we must never leave the provincial government and the landowners behind. I think that's very, very important in the next wave. PNG LNG we've left them a little bit behind. So this is an opportunity to make it right. So I'll leave it with what we've done in MRDC on our part. I'll leave a 2-minute video so you can enjoy it. Oops.